You know, for over a decade, the Apple iPhone launch has been one of the most predictable events in tech. It's like clockwork. But according to a whole wave of new reports, that clock is about to be completely reset starting in 2026.
I mean, that sounds almost crazy, right? Every single September, we expect a full lineup of new iPhones. It's basically a tradition at this point. But what if Apple decided to just break that tradition for the first time in over a decade?
And look, this isn't just some wild rumor floating around. We're seeing multiple reports from all across the supply chain, and they're all pointing to the exact same conclusion. Apple is fundamentally changing how it releases its most important product. This is a deliberate, really strategic shakeup.
So let's get into what's really changing here. This isn't just about one phone being delayed. We're talking about a whole new philosophy for the entire iPhone ecosystem, and it all kicks off with the iPhone 18.
Yeah, you heard that right. For the first time since the very early days of the iPhone, there will be no new standard model in the fall of 2026. The iPhone 17 is going to have to hold the line for a full year and a half. That is a massive change of pace for a product that's been defined by its annual refresh.
Okay, so the really interesting part is the why. Why would they do this? Apple doesn't make a move this big without a very, very good reason, and it turns out there are actually several powerful things driving this whole pivot. It's really a calculated response to growing complexity. I mean, with up to 8 different iPhone models on sale, the lineup was getting pretty crowded. This new schedule gives each device its own moment in the spotlight, it eases the pressure on the supply chain, and it helps even out Apple's revenue so it's not all crammed into one holiday spike.
So let's look at how this creates a completely new release calendar for the iPhone. Instead of one big iPhone day in the fall, we're now getting 2 very distinct launch windows, and each one has a super clear purpose.
This table right here, it just lays out the new strategy perfectly. You can see how the fall is now all about the cutting edge, the Pro and Fold models, aimed at the early adopters who want the absolute best. Then, the spring becomes the mainstream refresh, bringing that powerful new tech like the 2-nanometer chip to a much wider audience.
All right, let's nerd out for a minute and get into the tech that's so advanced it's forcing this entire strategic shift. We're talking about a leap to a 2-nanometer chip, and trust me, it changes absolutely everything.
This is the biggest leap in chip design we've seen in years. This new gate all-around architecture, okay, think of it like this. The old way was kind of like a leaky faucet. This new way is like a perfect valve. By wrapping the gate around the channel on all 4 sides, it massively cuts down on energy leaks. The result? A huge jump in power, and, just as important, efficiency.
And just look at these numbers. As you can see right here in the chart, compared to the previous chip, the new A20 can give you 15% more speed. Or, and this is the real game changer for battery life, it can match the old performance while using a staggering 30% less power. That's huge.
But, and this is a huge but, this kind of technological leap comes at a pretty steep price. The already advanced 3-nanometer chip in the iPhone 17 Pro, that costs Apple about $150 per unit. That's already a significant chunk of the phone's total cost.
Now get ready for this. The projected cost for the new 2-nanometer A20 Pro is nearly $280. That is an 87% price hike for the phone's brain. This cost pressure is a massive reason why Apple is staggering the launch, and it could have some pretty big implications for the final price you pay. So it's not just what's under the hood that's getting a revolution. This new tech is opening the door for a major redesign of the iPhone's face. For years, the goal has been a true all-screen phone, and reports are pointing to 2 possible futures for that dynamic island.
So it looks like Apple has 2 paths they could take. Scenario 1 is the dream. All the Face ID tech moves completely under the display, leaving just a tiny little pinhole for the camera. Scenario 2 is a more conservative step. Some of the sensors go under the screen, but the camera stays, which will result in a much slimmer dynamic island.
And of course, we gotta talk about the cameras. The Pro models are getting a massive overhaul. The main camera is getting a variable aperture, which basically gives you DSLR-like control over that blurry background effect in your photos, and a new tetraprism lens design is gonna allow for a huge 10x optical zoom, letting you get incredibly close without losing any quality.
And then, capping off this premium launch window is the big one, the one we've all been waiting for, Apple's foldable iPhone. The key goal here seems to be solving the problems that plague other foldables, with reports pointing to a totally crease-free display and a super durable hinge made from an advanced alloy. So, after all that talk about tech and strategy and nanometers, the big question is, what does this all actually mean for you when it's time to upgrade your phone?
Well, the answer is that the decision is about to get a whole lot more interesting.
This quote right here, it just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly captures the new reality. The simple days of just picking a size and a color, yeah, those are over. The iPhone lineup is becoming this complex ecosystem of devices, each one tailored for a different season, a different use, and a different budget.
Your next upgrade decision is probably going to look a lot more like this. First, you have to choose your season. Are you an early adopter who needs the absolute best in the fall, or do you wait for that spring refresh? Then, you choose your form factor. And finally, you have to balance your budget against that massive leap in tech and, well, the cost that comes with it. And that's really the bottom line here. This new era for the iPhone presents a very clear trade-off. Apple is delivering its biggest technological leaps in years, but they're absolutely going to come at a cost. It leaves all of us with a fascinating question to think about as we look ahead to 2026. How much is that next great leap truly worth?